I was born and raised in Portugal, in a little town outside of Lisbon. And I studied in the south of Portugal, in a beautiful little town called Évora, and came to California in 2004 to do an internship. I was at Rutherford Winery for about 8 years. Well, when I did the internship, I was there just for harvest. Fell in love with California, absolutely loved it, and returned to Portugal to write my thesis, finish school, and was invited back by Rutherford Hill, where I was doing my internship, with the intention to be here for a year and a half, and then go back to Portugal, and ended up staying there for about 8 years. Met my husband, who's from Sonoma County, and never left. And I've been at Artesa since 2013. Great deals. It's a very diverse, obviously traditional people thought Portugal was port wine, and maybe the ones that were a little more wine educated, maybe Madeira wine was on their radar, but Portugal makes tremendous table wines too. For such a small country, Portugal is the size of Indiana, to give people a visual, so very small. There's a lot of geographic diversity, a lot of difference within terroirs, from the most Atlantic AVAs to the most interior ones close to the Spanish border, so much warmer region. So in the south where I studied, the Alentejo region, warmer climate, much more riper flavor, versus the Douro River, where you have the warmer days but the really cool nights. And to me, the Douro table wines are top, I think challenging a lot of the top world AVAs. They're just incredible quality at a price that you can actually afford. So I came when Mark Berenger was the winemaker at the time, and then Mark left in 2015, and then I've been on the helm of winemaking since then, and then tried to put my own twist on our winemaking. We really focused our attention since 2015 on our estate vineyard. We used to own properties in different parts of the valley, also own a property in Sonoma County, and felt that we needed to really focus both our attention and our money in the redevelopment of our property, and to really let the unique terroir of the property shine. So Artesa is comprised of 400 acres, but we have 150 planted, mainly with Pinot Noir, and then some Chardonnay. We have some Albarino. Artesa is owned by the Codorniu family in Spain. So 17th generation that has owned the company since 1551. So a lot of legacy, a lot of history. And we've also just planted a little bit of Tempranillo and Pinot and Cabernet in the higher ridges of the property. So we're right on the back of Carneros. We have elevation, so some of those blocks are above 400 feet of elevation, which is what will qualify as to be considered Mount Veeder. And we're right on the edge of the Mayacamas Mountain. So our soil profile is very different than you would find on the lower part of Carneros, closer to the bay. Very volcanic soils, a lot of limestone, some sandstone, some clay loam, so very gravelly soils. Very small vigor, very low yield production, but incredible quality and concentration. And we're now, some of our vineyards are over 30 years old, so we're slowly redeveloping the estate, and that's been a really fun project that I've been involved with. It's very expensive, but it's also very fun. We have a small block. We have a little house on the property that belonged to the Brown family. They used to own Artesa. Artesa was a goat ranch back in the day, before it was purchased by the family and the winery built and the vineyards planted. And we have an experimental block down there. So we have about parcels a little under 2 acres that we've planted. Clones we haven't really worked with. We had our first Tempranillo block was planted down there with plants that were suitcase clones that were brought from Spain, were initially planted here but on a shady spot that didn't do well, was moved to Sonoma County to a property we owned there, and now brought back to the same cuttings back to Artesa. And this harvest, 18 was the first harvest that we got those grapes, and the quality is incredible. And next year we'll get a little bit of Tempranillo from the higher elevation, and the Cabernet will come in 2 years, and we're really, really excited with that prospect. Absolutely, yes. I mean, for us, it's got to do. It was one of the things that the idea of coming to Artesa, well, making sparkling was a big appeal to me. I never really worked with sparkling wine and was very curious. I really wanted to learn that. But then being from Portugal, I really wanted to work with Iberian varietals again. So working with Graciano, with Tempranillo, with Albarino, with some Granacha was very, very appealing to me. And Carneros, I think, for Tempranillo is incredible AVA. Albarino does very, very well on the property. So well, we're adding one more block in our replanting project. We're adding a single vineyard or a single block Albarino also with some made 100% in concrete. Wow. We did some trials this year, and we were so blown away by the results that I convinced the higher powers to do a special bottling of that wine. So it's definitely very interesting to think outside of the box. And obviously, Pinot is our big focus. I think our estate produces incredible quality Pinot Noirs, but it's also fun to be able to think outside of the box and looking to all these other varietals and connect them with our heritage and our story. So Artesa, we bottle this is our 2014 Grand Reserve Brut. It's 100% out of the estate, 100% vintage designated. It's done by the traditional method. And it's roughly 50% Pinot, 50% Chardonnay. It's fermented both in stainless steel and in neutral, very old barrels that we have specifically for our sparkling program. And it spends about 3 years on yeast before it gets disgorged. We do a very light dosage. In reality, I think we've been tiring that down even more. And we produce a Brut, a Rosé, and then in about a year, we'll disgorge our first late disgorge that has been on yeast for 5 years. It will be almost 6 by then. So it will be the first vintage of 13 late disgorge. So next year will be the first year that it will be released. But obviously, having the heritage of Codorníu, which are one of the biggest cava producers in Spain, in Catalonia, we really wanted to continue that heritage. We've always made sparkling. Our production dropped a little bit in the past, and then in the last 5 years, we really ramped up. It's a very successful wine here. I think sparkling wine is very trendy these days. Okay. Everyone makes a sparkling, yes. Yeah. But I love the heritage. It's very clean. It's very crisp. We play with partial malolactic on this wine, on some of the components on the wine. But I think having 3 years on the reach on yeast gives it a great richness in the mid palate. Cheers. Yeah, cheers.